So for this GX7, I have an 8-row setup laid out in front of me for my harnessing. This harnessing may be a little bit different from you, especially if you have more rows or less rows, or even depending on the kind of implement you have. There's a few different harnessing combinations that can be done, but this is a general setup. Looking at your manual, it'll show the different kinds of harnesses we have, which is very few. It's more of the lengths of the harnesses are different. But the way that you would adapt this kind of harness to the flow meter from the board and then to your virtual terminal to the board, there's only a couple different ways to do it. So looking at this harnessing here, I'm going to start with our GX7 board, the module. This will be the main brain of the system. So from here, you can mount this wherever you need to, depending on where you and the salesman had spoken about. Generally, these might be mounted on the GX2 or GX5 pump system that you get from us if you ordered this with a pump system. So from wherever you put this board, there will be this foot-long harness that comes with it. You'll plug this into the board, and then there's 3 plugs that come off of this. This 3-pin MetroPack plug here will have speed on it. For most cases, this probably isn't going to be plugged in for you. With this, you would be using with our Astro 2 GPS sensor. Most of you are probably running this off the speed source that you already have on your tractor, so don't worry about this plug. This next plug here that's labeled ISO, this is how we're going to get into our virtual terminal on our monitor. So this is a 4-pin MetroPack. It uses the orange weather pack that is on it. So with this cable, the extension length you have might differ and the number of these cables could vary. In my case, I only have one 10-footer. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to plug in the mating end, and then I'm going to lead this following end to my tap cable. Now there are numerous number of tap cables that we have. A tap cable is how we connect into the virtual terminal of our monitor. It's how we connect to our ISO bus. This is a standard John Deere Green Star adapter cable. You'll see this commonly for John Deere for their ISO bus setups. So what we're going to do, and for many of you that are probably using a John Deere setup, you're probably using their John Deere Green Star single product liquid controller, which generally comes in this black bracketing, but this would be the controller that you're looking at. Coming off of that Green Star controller, this harnessing is included with the Green Star. You'll see this connection here coming off of the Green Star, and then generally this is connecting to the back of the tractor if that's where the Green Star is mounted at, or it's connected on the mating end on your planter. What you're going to do is you're going to unplug that. This tap cable is going to go in line. The other end then is going to plug in to where your original end was. And now you are left with this 4-pin MetroPack plug here. This is how we are connecting to your ISO bus. From here, you'll plug in line, and then our board will then be able to get power that we are taking from the Green Star setup. If this is on a case planter, there's a similar tap cable, just has different plugs on it, either if it's a 1200 series or the 2000 series. If you are plugging into the back of the monitor, or the harness that would go into the back of the monitor, typically on a Green Star monitor or on an Agxcel monitor, there's another kind of harness we would give you, same concept. You'll have that same 4-pin coming off of it. If you're going into the back of the tractor through the IVIC plug, similar concept. You'll still have this 4-pin plug that you will go into. Instead of the small cable though, you're going to have this 10-foot or 30-foot long IVIC extension cable, but the way you would plug into the virtual terminal would be the same through this 4-pin plug. So now that I am plugged into my ISO bus, I can show up on my monitor on my Green Star. But before we get that far, we need to plug in the flow meters. This would be considered the CAN bus side. These flow meters are CAN bus. So looking at this plug here, there's another 4-pin plug, but you can't plug it in wrong because this is a super seal plug. You can't plug them in wrong. You can't plug in the flow meter CAN bus into the ISO bus line. So looking at this with the red tip and the yellow weather pack, I'm going to look at my number of Y cables, the number of my extensions, and then my terminators as well. Starting at the module, I have an 8-row setup. That means I have 2 flow meters. If I have a 16-row setup, I have 4 flow meters. In this case, I know I have my 2 flow meters for my 8 rows. I want one set on the left, another set on the right side of my planter. So as I come out of this one plug, I need to get to 2 flow meters. How do I do that? I'm going to take my Y cable. My Y cable I'm going to plug in here. So now I have 2 leads. So now I can plug into 2 flow meters. But maybe my pump is sitting 10 feet away from where my flow meters are. I need an extension cable. These extension cables that I'm holding here are 15 feet long. So you'd cut the zip tie, you would plug in your extension cable, and now I can reach my flow meter. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side of my planter. I'm going to plug in my extension cable in my Y, and now I can get to my flow meter. But now you're asking, I have 1 flow meter on this side, 1 flow meter on my right side, but yet I have 2 plugs. Why do I have 2 plugs? At the end of each bus, which means at the end on each side of the planter or side dress bar, whatever kind of implement you have, at the very end, you have to have a terminator plugged in. You have to have 2 terminators per system. So what I'm going to do on the end of this Y, I'm going to plug in my terminator. And then with my last plug, I can plug in my flow meter. And my flow meter is always going to plug in to the left side of this flow meter where the silver sticker is. The silver sticker is also the serial number for the flow meter. You will not plug into this right side. You will only plug into this left side. Once that's plugged in and you have your terminator, secure your harnessing on your bracketing. I'm going to go to the other side of my implement now. And then same thing, I'm going to plug in my terminator. And now I'm going to plug in my flow meter on the other side. And now looking at my harnessing, it's all completed. So if I had a 16-row setup, what you're going to do for your harnessing then is you're just going to have another set of Ys coming off of, and this might vary where you put it out in line. Either if it's from this first Y or if it's starting after the extension. I can have another Y, I can lead to my 3rd flow meter, and then on the other side I can lead to my 4th flow meter. And then I can have a total of 4 flow meters for my 16 rows.